Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the next 25 minutes, we're going to be having our final panel discussion pre-lunch. We're looking at talking about next generation banking for Viksit Bharat. Let's talk about tech-enabled banks, digital-first governance, and customer experience. Allow me an opportunity to now call upon, first of all, our moderator of this conversation, the former executive director and group CTO of CDSL, somebody who's a senior technology strategist specializing in cloud transformation and digital business modernization. With his leadership current, he has driven large-scale infrastructure and regulatory technology initiatives. Please join me in welcoming Joydeep Datta. Let's give him a warm round of applause. We also have our first panelist joining in, the CEO and founder. I hope the pronunciation is right, Ms. Kaur of SCOR, or S-Kaur? SCOR, okay. She's a leader in process intelligence and service-led growth, helping organizations drive cost efficiency, operational alignment, and enhance customer experience outcomes. With her strong expertise across BFSI sector, she specializes in optimizing service delivery and measurable performance improvement. Please join me in welcoming the CEO and founder, SCOR, Satinder Kaur. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, all the energy in the room needs to come out while we're applauding for all of them. Our next panelist is the CISO DPO Advisory and Policy of NPCI, a seasoned cybersecurity leader, somebody who is specializing in information security, data privacy, risk governance, and regulatory compliance. Let's welcome Mr. Praveen Kumar. So who is not here? Jaya and Manoj are there? We also have the opportunity of welcoming the DGM of Union Bank of India, somebody who has contributed to the operational efficiency and governance strengthening, and of course, known for the analytical rigor and managerial experience he brings. Please join me in welcoming Manoj Kumar Verma. On the other end, we have our final panelist joining in, an experienced independent board director with strong expertise in financial services and governance. She contributes towards the strategic oversight, compliance leadership, and risk advisory across institutions. Please join me in welcoming the independent director of Avasara Finance Limited, Jaya Janardhan. So with this, I'd like to leave it in the able hands of our moderator to take it forward. Just would like to reconfirm, Mr. Satyendra Singh is not in the room, right? Okay, perfect. So apologies, we had 2 dropouts. So we just wanted to give our regards to our panelists who couldn't make it. Over to our moderator to take it forward.
So we have less time. So earlier we had 5 panelists who were planned in the morning. Couple of them could not attend. One of them was going to join online from NPCI. Because of this delay, he also has another meeting, so he's not going to come. So we just have 4 of us, and we'll try to make it as short as possible. We are short of time. And we'll start just to set the context. While this conference is about Viksit Bharat 2047, and our aspirations to become a developed country, one of the things that this session is about is slightly different than what other areas of development which has happened in the country. So as far as technology and banking and financial services is concerned, India is already a developed country. So that is point number 1, which is little different from areas where we need to catch up. And therefore, how do we, as banks and financial services institutions, how do we expedite, then accelerate the journey of the country to catch up on various aspects of development which is required to be done for India to become a developed country. Another thing about 21 years which is left to go for India to become a developed nation, in terms of predicting what is going to happen, I don't think anybody in the room is having any idea what will happen in 2047. And some of us won't be there at that time, so we will not even know what actually happened. And in this particular case, in this panel, we are in a technology panel predominantly. So here it is even more challenging in terms of knowing what is going to happen. Because in technology, things happen in 1 or 2 years horizon, we get to know something is happening. Just for the sake of adopting that, we don't adopt it. We try to hold back and adopt it when it is mature and when it is something which can be scalable and it can be deployed in some of the large banks that we have in India. So just predicting something 21 years is just not possible in technology. And there's a lot of hype about certain technologies which are going to come. Many of them are in pilot and POC stage and they disappear. So maybe 10 or 20% of technology which are coming from time to time mature and make it to a company and they survive and they are part of the ecosystem. So that is another point about technology being little different from other areas. So what I'll try to do is here we have, I think, less technology people here. I think these two ladies are my ex-colleagues in a bank 20 years back, so certain things we have in common. And he is from a public sector bank. So it will be little less technology because here the panelists are slightly different, coming from different functional areas. So I made a list of questions which, depending on the time that we have, we will try to have those questions. Now I can ask more questions to the panelists here because we have more time. But I think 21 minutes that is what we have. So I'll start with Satinder. Before digital came, and digital has been around for a long time, it is not just recent. And we had a lot of trust from personal relationship that we have, and we had focus on improving processes. I'm talking of 20 years back. Just like we said 20 years back what it was, what it is now, and 20 years hence what will happen. So with that perspective, what do we need to preserve so that the model of digital first banks that we should preserve, which will go ahead and 20 years later also we'll have that? Are we going to dilute something which to enable something later on? Or certain fundamental things have to be the same, even 20 years hence. So can you give some of your experiences in the bank?
Yeah.
And maybe just talk about it a little bit, and then I'll go to Jaya.
Yeah, thank you. So when we talk about old-time branch banking, it sounds very old. And when digital was just about starting, we used to get a lot of articles. People used to show us articles. This is an Harvard article. This has come from here. Basically saying that there will be no branches 20 years down the line or 10 years down the line. Now, if you look at it today, the branch is still there. But they are different. So what is it that the branches had, or what is it that when we talk about relationship banking, what really does it mean? It means that it requires, or why did we think at that point of time that was good enough? So the first thing was clarity. You knew what you were doing. The number of products were limited, the number of processes were limited. It was simple banking. So there was clarity. The second thing is the person with whom we used to deal, there was continuity. So every day I didn't have to go and explain, and we knew what the customer, at the gate when the customer was, we knew what he wanted. So there was continuity. The third thing was there was transparency, because when you're face to face, when you're looking at a person in the eye, there's not much that you can actually hide. So there was transparency, and there was accountability. That is, when something went wrong, there was somebody you could go to. Now these are the four actual things that we need to carry forward, but in a digital way. So today when we look at it, digital doesn't mean that these things have gone, but the strength of digitization comes from these. There has to be clarity. So today we get messages whenever we do a transaction. There has to be transparency, and even the regulator comes into the picture here when they say that you must have key facts. Customer must know many things. So these are some of the things that we need to carry forward, whether we are in any stage of technology, whether even Viksit Bharat should have these 3 or 4 traits which should continue despite everything.
I'll move on to Jaya. I think she's been involved on the risk and risk management side as well, which is one of the things I think all of us are subject to, all companies which are in the financial services space. Too much of risk management, too much of audits, too much of, and I know in technology it is just too much. Quarterly audit, this audit, that audit, every moment some audit or the other is happening. RBI audit, SEBI audit, etc. Now, earlier risk meant I remember earlier we used to say somebody brings up some proposal or some suggestion, we will say no, that this is too risky. But we would not get into the idea and try to understand how we can circumvent the risk and how we can do something where we can do something half-baked or at least something close to what is being asked. Now that risk thing has become elevated to an extreme level now. Now, what is this risk governance philosophy nowadays, where we have to say yes to many things which we used to say no, and how can we say yes to so many things which are on the superficially it looks like it should not be done, but we still have to find a way to do it. And this is probably more relevant in rural, and we'll touch on that if we have time. We have an urban and rural divide, where you have a different set of, it's as if we have 2 countries, maybe 3 countries, elite and middle class and rural villages, etc. The solutions which we do to each of these different segments are different. So how do you, and Viksit Bharat is about going to the bottom of the pyramid. So taking care of the bottom of the pyramid and coexisting with what is at the elite level, at the middle class level, how do you think risk governance will change going forward, and how do you cater to all these segments, and there may be more if you do micro segmenting? What is it that we need to do?
Thanks, Jaydeep. So, first and foremost is when we talk about a Viksit Bharat, right, we're talking about a inclusive, developed, and a highly competitive India in 2027. Risk, and just to quote an example, when I used to be managing operations, I used to hate the risk people, because every time you do something, they would come and say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this. And then my life changed in 2014 when I went to set up the risk team for ops risk for Bank of America. And that's when I realized that risk is not someone who spokes into your processes, but it has to be an integral part. And so today when we talk about, the risk being part, it is a culture. Okay, it is not someone that, today what happens, even today we see in most organizations, the moment you talk about writing a process, they'll say, hey, but you know what, this has to be approved by risk. See, the point is that it's very unwillingly trying to say that please approve by risk, okay? So, risk has to be a culture, okay? From, as you rightly mentioned, whether it's a rural or the middle elite class or the middle class, whenever you make a product, it has to be completely inbuilt with risk factors, right? How does the person remain safe? How does the product remain safe? How does the process remain safe? Second is, it has to be not proactive, it has to be strategic. It cannot be reactive, it has to be strategic, it has to be proactive. It cannot be a aftermath decision. It has to be, thought through before you implement something. So today, most of the processes that we do, or most of the products we do, you find risk coming in much later in life. Okay, and that's when what happens is, you take a. ultimately you take a post facto decision saying that, oh, this product has to be redesigned because it had some risk which we had ignored. So typically when we talk about, and it cannot be a silo-based approach. It has to be the whole organization has to be taken into confidence into the processes when you launch a product, when you design a product. Today it is, as you rightly mentioned, they're very siloed. Everybody is very siloed. The design is siloed, the product is siloed, the operations is siloed, the audit is siloed. So whenever an audit comes to inspect a product, people are scared, is there something that we would have missed out? Risk is now, I'm all due respects to any risk guys who are sitting in the room, but risk has taken a very high importance today. So they kind of show off their arrogance on the floor saying that, this has this risk and that has that risk. So we're talking about building a products and processes for an economy of the country in 2047, which is very inclusive, which is very risk. I wouldn't want to use the word risk averse, but which is inbuilt to make sure that all the risk aspects are taken care of. The people are feeling safe when they're using a product. They're taken care of all the cyber attacks which has been happening all across. So there is a little bit of proactive approach and also a culture driven across the organization, like the way today when we talk about services, right? Everybody says service has to be in your blood. Service has to be at the last mile. Similarly, risk also has to be at the last mile. Then only you reach a stage saying that, we are in a stage of, inclusive growth of the country.
Correct. So it cannot be a point-in-time thing. It has to be a continuous process and integrated into whatever we do.
Absolutely.
Correct. So now, slightly different something I'll ask Manoj, and you have some knowledge, or rather your area of expertise is somewhere in cybersecurity, and to some extent you're managing some of the aspects of cybersecurity, which has become very, very important, and everybody is scared that what will happen, when will the next attack come, when will we get attacked. One of the jokes going around is maybe we are already attacked, we don't know about it. Yes. So now on cybersecurity, and in public sector banks, it is probably slightly more challenging to implement certain solutions in cybersecurity as opposed to private banks or foreign banks. What is the biggest gap that you have in building the resilience of the company from the cyber perspective? Do you have a technology skill gap? Do you have people skill gap? Processes are not in place. Awareness is less. Can you talk a little bit about that, and what are the challenges you have when you are trying to implement any cyber solution?
Thank you, Jaideep, and good afternoon to all. Just, yes, I am from being the public sector, we are custodian of the lot of data and money of the millions of people. So whatever we do, normally we need to think about the security. But definitely here, gap, all the banks are they've implemented a lot of solutions, lot of security solutions to secure the systems from at all level. It is from the system, endpoint system level, like desktops, and from the perimeter level, at desktop level, we have all the banks have implemented like antivirus, NAC, EDR, patch management solution. At perimeter level, all the organizations have implemented like DDoS solutions, firewalls, WAF, and now SSLO, API security. At again data level, organizations have implemented the DLP, then DCS. Many solutions are implemented, but definitely we are finding first security. All the applications owners and departments are not very concerned about the security even today. We have to, they think security is a matter of only the security vertical who is handling the security. So that we are constantly, organizations are training so that all the persons should be aware. Second, it is not a matter of only the banks. I am also observing a lot of all the security tools are from the developed in the Israel or some other country. Here, all the solutions is being implemented by the public service provider. I am seeing those service providers also not having very skill set to implement and maintain the solution. Whenever there is a problem, it is now taking a longer time because new solution, no one is aware. They also depend on the tax support of known as a tax support of the service provider. And nowadays, after the COVID era and due to the generative, those tax support engineers also taking longer time to give the solution to the problem. That is the main thing. Definitely customer awareness, because in public sector bank, like we are different than the private sector. Like we are going to providing the services to very lower people to very higher people. So they can we should awareness. There is a lack of awareness at a certain level, which is not being faced by some of our colleague private sector bank. But so we are constantly making the awareness. They are also not aware. Sometimes they do the mistake. So we are constantly working to make to enhance the awareness among the customers so that they will not do the wrong transaction. But definitely, all the bank for securing your technology process and awareness should be work together so that to improve the security in the organization. Thank you.
Okay, back to Satinder. There are so many things we can talk about. We just have 7 minutes or so left.
Yeah.
One of the things that banks have focused in the last 20 years has been efficiency, process, automation, etc. Many things which are kind of hygiene now. Now we are talking about personalization, in fact hyper-personalization, which means that each individual customer will be treated uniquely compared to others. Now, how can banks make operations, and operations is one silo, maybe not a silo, a department called operations has to handle each type of customer of different segments. You don't have one operations dealing with rural one, usually you don't have it. It's across the board you have one operation. How do you make the operations on one hand efficient, which they are already, and at least they are supposed to be, and also personalized at the same time, where a customer that is going to be offered something, we have been doing cross-sell for a long time. We won't talk about AI here, there are other sessions on AI. There are so many things we are doing where we talk about how to find out what is the customer likely to buy and personalize the offers to the customer, for each customer unique to that customer depending on his profile. Now, how do you achieve hyper-personalization across all these different segments in let's say 5 years from now, 10 years from now? How do you achieve that level of personalization?
So, now I have just 2 minutes, so I'll quickly, try to put my response. There are, how I look at it is that there need to be 2 layers. So, the lower layer should be the core operations, which means that efficiency, as you said, standardization, because that's what will bring economies of scale. So the lower layer has to be very fixed, very risk contained, as well as efficient, error free, etc. There has to be another layer above that which looks into the hyper personalization, because at the back of our mind we also need to keep this, that one is we are talking about inclusive growth. Second thing is that by that time, because of longevity, there will be people in all kinds of age groups. So you will have, today we only cater to the middle age kind of. You will have youngsters, you will have people who are of the middle age, you will have many more senior people. So that means the number of groups that you're catering to will definitely increase. And it's here where this information that's available with the use of artificial intelligence will lead to hyper-personalization. Jaideep.
Yep, okay, thanks. Another thing which is maybe outside the realm of operations or risk management is something which is going to happen, I think, in the next 2-3 years will happen, which is 24/7 all financial services. We are working towards that. RBI, SEBI, and all the regulators have, and trading 24/7 is started in some countries where stock exchange is open 24 hours. Here we have different timings for stock exchange. For commodities, it is longer time. For equity, it's only till 3:30. That is going to happen where we will have 24/7 trading, which means settlement has to happen in round the clock. Banking has to be there round the clock. Today, the holidays are different. RBI holidays, SEBI holidays. Let's give an example of two regulators in this ecosystem where we have trading under SEBI purview, bank under RBI purview. How do you slowly move into a 24/7 banking? Jaya, this will be to you. From a non-technical point of view, I mean, don't get into technology. We have a huge window of beginning of day, not so much, but end of the day. Every bank does an end of the day, and you will be familiar from operations. How do we crunch that window? We should be doing real time. End of the day is like every minute is like end of minute or something. Something like that we need to achieve so that we can achieve 24/7 banking to cater to the ecosystem, which is 24/7 trading.
So, Jaideep, I don't know when you were there in ICICI Bank and when we were all there at that point of time, we used to shut off systems at 5 o'clock to have an EOD at 9 o'clock in the night, right? From there, we reached a stage where systems were shut off at 12 to an EOD. Things have moved a lot in the last few years. And if you're looking at 24/7, and I remember this a few years back when ICICI Bank decided to launch 24/7 banking, we worked all throughout it and we reached a stage of 8 to 8 banking, and we were the only bank in the country to launch it. So when we look at looking at an on-time, and now the way payments have happened throughout 24/7, it won't be long enough when we reach a stage of 24/7 banking. Number one. Number two is the way the technology has moved in the last few years and the way things have happened. Do you really need EOD? Is a big question mark. You don't really may need an EOD, because the way the integrations have happened between multiple systems and the way today loan processing happens, today way disbursement happens, today way everything is happening through the mobile app. I don't think we may reach a stage in the future where saying that EOD may not be required. It's just an ongoing process. You can have your bank running throughout by 7. So but it's also depends upon, do we really require a 24/7 banking? Do you need it? Because at some point of time, you may want to say that, no, we may require a 12-hour banking, but we don't require a 24/7 banking. Who will transact at midnight of day, right? So therefore, it's all about the ask and the way the country is moving forward. Second is, I think the 2047 that we're talking about, you will still have a lot of generation that are lying in between. The 1967 born to the Gen Zs and the Alphas and all the various generations that we're talking about. So it'll all depend upon what is the kind of requirements that each of us have at that point of time. And as always, there'll be one leader who will start the work, and then everybody will be there to follow. So, 24/7 banking is something that, we'll have to wait and watch and see how it works.
So we are running out of time, but one point on that 24/7, it is required if you want to operate internationally. There are people in different countries who are also investing. So for that, you need to have 24/7. Okay. I'll end here. We're short of time.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, we would request Dr. Narendra to please join us, and Jitesh Shetty, the MD and CEO of Credible, if you can do us the honor of joining us on stage and allow us the opportunity of having you in frame with all our panelists. For all the audience members who are here in the room, thank you so much for your kindness in terms of time extension. May we also request you to please continue the applause for all our eminent panelists who are here with us. Thereby, this is where we are going to be concluding with the panel, and we are going to be taking a short networking break. We know that 40 minutes should be good for a few of us in the room to finish the lunch, so may we request you to proceed outside and join us back at 2:40 at the maximum. We'll try and have at the earliest the resuming of our event. Meanwhile, we're just requesting all our panelists to stay with us for a group photograph, and may I request all our audience members to now proceed towards lunch area. Thank you so much, and we'll join and request you back to join us at 2:40 IST. Thank you.